Good morning, 8 a.m. on the East Coast. You're watching Morning Rush. I'm Jay Struberg.
And I'm Holly Furfer in for Rob Nelson.
A live look in Tampa right now where traffic is packed but moving. Residents are evacuating ahead of the mighty Hurricane Milton. Officials are warning that the longer people wait to leave, the harder it will be to get to a safe location quickly. Drivers are allowed to drive on emergency shoulders of key interstate, and Uber is offering free rides to shelters for Floridians. Milton is expected to make landfall near Tampa Bay by tomorrow evening.
Georgia's 6-week abortion ban is back in force days after a judge struck down that law. The state Supreme Court reinstated the law, one of the nation's strictest, while it reviews a trial judge's ruling that the ban violates a woman's constitutional right to liberty.
I have a Glock, and I've had it for quite some time. And look, Bill, my background is in law enforcement.
Vice President Kamala Harris telling the CBS News program 60 Minutes that she not only owns a gun, she knows how to use it. Harris opens up about owning a firearm, rebutting claims by former President Trump that she would seize guns from law-abiding Americans.
The FDA recall on eggs linked to a salmonella outbreak has been upgraded to a Class 1, which means they may cause serious health problems and possibly death. That recall pertains to eggs branded by Milo's Poultry Farm and Tony's Fresh Market. Dozens have been hospitalized, but no deaths have been reported.
Our top story this morning, mass evacuations underway across Florida's west coast as Hurricane Milton explodes into an extremely dangerous storm over the Gulf of Mexico. Right now, 51 counties are under a state of emergency, just days after many returned to their homes following Hurricane Helene.
Now, this was the scene yesterday on Interstate 75 outside Tampa. Bumper-to-bumper traffic as people try to get out. And this morning, here you're taking a live look. We're already seeing major congestion on the highways as people continue to evacuate before Milton makes landfall tomorrow evening near Tampa Bay. Now, the roads are clogged and gas shortages have been reported in some areas. But last hour, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said 1.2 million gallons of diesel and gas are currently en route to the state. Authorities are also using buses and even ride-sharing services to shuttle residents to inland shelters. And moments ago, Governor Ron DeSantis addressed concerns over that gas shortage.
Now, there is no fuel shortage. Fuel continues to arrive in the state of Florida by port and what we're doing to bring it in on the ground. But lines at gas stations have been long. Gas stations are running out quicker than they otherwise would. And so that is causing the state of Florida to help assist with the mission to be able to get fuel to the gas stations so that Floridians have access. So last night, 27 fuel trucks were escorted by the Florida Highway Patrol to deliver fuel to stations in the anticipated impact area. We're also working with fuel companies such as Racetrack, Wawa, Shell, and Walmart to ensure fuel trucks are working 24/7 to keep fuel delivered as it comes into our ports. Now, Port of Tampa, for example, our Gulf.
All right, that was Governor Ron DeSantis commenting on that fuel shortage. And senior meteorologist Scott Withers joins us now from Tampa with the latest on Hurricane Milton. And Scott, I mean, it's good news that people are getting out of town, but for those who are still there, boarding up houses and preparing, what do those preparations look like near you?
Well, let me show you. Here, let's zoom out. This line of cars here, it stretches as far as the eye can see, all the way down, miles away. They've been lined up out here since 4:30 in the morning, and they are trying to get some final sandbags. They're here at one of the stations where they're doing it. They've got it under control here. They've got a machine here filling the bags really quickly. Then everyone kind of zooms right down. They've got their gates open. They throw them in. This speeds up the process dramatically over some people come out with shovels and doing it themselves. But they still a long, long wait. These people are going to get their bags, go home, and then a lot of them, they are evacuating. Take a look. I want to show you what it looks like on the expressways out there right now as heading out of town. A lot of people out there. Look, they're just bumper to bumper. It is moving. Now, a lot of the gas stations still have gas, but they're also starting to close down because they're in evacuation areas and they need to close down for safety to make sure that there's no issues during when the hurricane hits. So that's another reason people are running out of gas. We do have an update now on Milton. Let's take a look at the graphics here. I want to show you it is now still Category 4, but it has dropped down in speed, 145 miles per hour. Okay, you think that's good news, but what is happening is that eye wall is going through an eye wall replacement process. What that means is new, stronger storms are kind of building around the eye wall, and when they take over, that's going to be even a larger storm across, and it's going to be more powerful. So we do expect it to jump back up to that Category 5 a little bit later today. Let's take a look at the track here. As we put it in motion, I want you to see where this thing is heading. It's going to zoom across the southern parts of the Gulf of Mexico. You can see still Category 4, does get up to a 5 later today, still coming in as a 3 just to the south of the opening of the Tampa Bay, right there in the Bradenton area, then zooms across the state, still a Category 1 by the time it gets to the Atlantic. The latest computer models, the spaghetti models, they're also going to show you where this thing is heading. They're all still trending the same thing, right into or just south of Tampa Bay, rolls across the state just south of Orlando in the Kissimmee, Haines City area, and then it's going to exit out there near Merritt Island as still a Category 1. All right, now when it comes to the alerts and the warnings across the state, the red area you're going to see, that is the hurricane warning that has now expanded across the state to include Orlando, the Daytona Beach area, and almost up to Jacksonville. The pink, that's a hurricane watch zone. The yellow or blue, tropical storms. And that tropical storm now expands all the way up to Charleston. Take a look here at the peak surge. This is critical. The Atlantic coast, when it moves out, you're going to get up to 6 feet from Savannah down south of Daytona Beach. But look at the Gulf Coast, the red and the purple. That purple, up to 15 feet, is going to slam into Tampa Bay, Pinellas County, out there where St. Petersburg is at. A large portion of that peninsula is going to be underwater. Parts of downtown Tampa could also see up to 15 feet. And then down in Fort Myers Beach, you could see close to 12 feet. This is significant. Another significant update is the inland flooding. I want you to see where this is because it's also expanding. You'll see a large red stripe across the center of the country there, the state there. That is the inland flooding major, but look at the extreme flooding there. Tampa, Orlando, up to Daytona Beach. Some areas, we are going to see 12 inches of rain. Holly and Jay, some areas in Florida are going to get up to 18 inches, and we could see significant life-threatening flash flooding across the central part of the state of Florida.
Senior meteorologist Scott Withers, thank you, sir. Stay safe. With many residents of western North Carolina still cut off from the outside world after Hurricane Helene, some are able to get much needed supplies only by air. A group of volunteer helicopter pilots with a group called Operation Hilo are flying up to 400 missions a day, dropping supplies into areas where Helene washed away bridges and roads. And with us now is Eric Robinson. He's the CFO of the Operation Hilo, and he joins us via phone. Thank you so much for taking time out this morning to talk with us. Tell us about the operation that you're conducting and about the volunteers who are pitching in to help residents throughout North Carolina.
Yeah, so we greatly appreciate you putting us on and letting us get this story out. My co-founder and I, Matt McSwain, once Helene came through and the story started coming out and pictures started coming out as to how bad it actually was, we were able to get with a good friend, Doug Jackson with Operation Airdrop, and mobilize a group of pilots that we know through our community to get aid in and to start saving lives. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about. We were in planning missions and ran scouting missions on Sunday. Monday we started running actual aid missions. The first phase of that was to get communications into the mountains. Everyone is cut off from cellular phones. Internet, it was all cut off. So we started dropping in Starlinks immediately to where we could get comms in and actually hear what they needed in real time. Once that happened, we were able to, again, mobilize the community of helicopter pilots that we have, start getting aid in, start getting actual needs in, medication, insulin, you name it. We were able to supply it in real time and as quickly as possible.
It is truly an extraordinary relief effort with the mountains factored into this. So what kind of supplies are you delivering, and how are you able to get in and then get back out safely?
So that's a great question. In the beginning, my co-founder and I are both prior military, so we used relationships there as well. We had the 20th SF group and a couple other special operators that we were able to drop into the area of operation and to establish landing zones, and that would be at high schools, at fire stations, at churches. So once that happened, we started first, obviously, with the immediate needs, with insulin, with food, with water. But then, as we started getting more aid in, and as roads opened up and aid was able to be trucked in, that mission changed. The weather, fortunately, up until now has been fantastic, but a cold front came through. So we met that need in a huge cold weather clothes drive. That was delivered directly to the airport. So our mission changed from food, aid, medication to getting people the clothes that they needed to survive this. I mean, pictures don't do it justice. Some people lost their house. Some people lost other family members. There's people up there with absolutely nothing, no clothes, no shoes, no nothing. And when it's all said and done, again, this cold front coming through, we were like, we have to now meet this need. So we were able to do that with the landing zones and the partnerships that we already had in place.
And Eric, with just a couple of seconds left, tell us what you need now. What does your organization need? Because we know operating helicopters isn't cheap. And as you said, temperatures changing, needs are changing as the days go on.
Yeah, the mission is going to continue until it's not needed anymore, and that's for the foreseeable future. So donations always help. They're expensive to fly, and we are paying for the fuel simply out of donation. So OperationHelo.org is where you can go to donate.
Eric Robinson, CFO of Operation Helo. You're doing great work out there. We really appreciate the initiative, and I'm sure the folks in North Carolina do so as well.
Hey, we appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
All right, on the second day of its new term, the Supreme Court hears arguments in a case involving regulation of so-called ghost guns. Those are weapons that are all but untraceable when used in crimes. Yeah, the court is weighing the Biden administration's efforts to regulate the guns, which are assembled from kits and bear no serial numbers. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says ghost guns were used in 1,200 homicides and attempted homicides between 2016 and 2022. Legal Affairs correspondent Avajoy Burnett joining us now with more. Avajoy, for people who may not know, what exactly are those ghost guns? Describe them for us.
Hey, good morning, everyone. We hear the term all the time, ghost guns, but here is a brief description of exactly what they are. They're kits that are bought online and then shipped to folks, and then you're able to assemble these different parts at your home into a gun that operates like a gun. And the issue here is whether or not these particular guns should require serial numbers and then also background checks. This is something the Biden administration has been pushing for quite some time, but opponents of that say existing gun laws do not require serial numbers and background checks for these ghost guns. And you guys mentioned this off the top. The big issue here is the fact that these weapons have been showing up on crime scenes across the country. And if there are no serial numbers or even a background check for someone who purchases this stuff, it's really hard for detectives to trace these weapons, to number one, know if they've been used in previous crimes, and then try to figure out these clues and then ultimately solve crimes. Now, we were able to take a look at some statistics from the Department of Justice, and they really kind of gives you an idea at just how common these particular weapons have become. We're going to pull this up on the screen for you. According to the DOJ, in 2018, about 4,000 ghost guns were used in crimes across the U.S. But just 3 years later, in 2021, that number spiked to 20,000. That is a 400% increase. As we've said, the Biden administration is really pushing for background checks and serial numbers on these ghost guns. And that is the issue that will be argued inside the U.S. Supreme Court today. On the second day of this new term, 2 cases will be argued, but this is one of those cases that many people will be watching.
Correspondent Avajoy Burnett. Thank you, Avajoy. Still ahead, a long, strange presidential campaign down to its final 4 weeks, and neither candidate is letting up in their efforts to court those undecided voters, as few as they are. The latest from the campaign trail ahead on Morning Rush.